You again? No, yes, that's fine. That's
Okay,
good.
here we go. Here we go. 48 minutes long. Neil here, and we're here for the
Good. Here
fourth
as well.
lesson of our Ayurveda course. So far we've looked in depth at the qualities of Vata, the qualities of Pitta, and the qualities of Kapha. And we've spent one lecture on each of those, and you've seen the different disorders and the personality types and the body types associated with them. And hopefully now at this stage, you're beginning to get an idea of what your own nature is, and also maybe looking around at the people around you, and you can start to spot what type of person they are or what their predominant dosha is. So today we're going to look at the rhythms of nature, because nature has cycles and nature has times to do things. As the song says, there's a season for everything. So nature, we're going to look firstly at the daily rhythm, and then we'll look very quickly at the seasonal rhythm and the life rhythm. So what I want to do with you just briefly is share my screen with you, and I want to show you this chart here, okay? Because in actual fact, different times of the day, different qualities are predominant. And you can see from this chart here that at 6 a.m. in the morning, so we say we start our day at 6 a.m. in the morning, from 6 to 10 in the morning is actually a Kapha time of the day. And that's when Kapha is more, that little heaviness is a little bit more lively in the atmosphere. Then from 10 to 2 is a Pitta time of the day, when the fire element is a bit more lively. And, that's why we eat our main meal in the middle of the day, because our digestion is strong at that time of the day. From 2 to 6 p.m. is a Vata time of the day. And sometimes people will say they get this tiredness in the afternoon, which would be a very Vata thing. And Dr. Brennan is going to be talking about that. And then we go back to a Kapha time of the day, back to a Pitta time of the day, and back to a Vata time of the day. But each of them have their own qualities. The Pitta at nighttime, different things are happening than the Pitta in morning time. So what we're going to do is discuss these times of the day very in depth, and take a look at the things that we should be doing and the way that we should be behaving for the various different times of the day. So what's going to happen is that Dr. Rajvinder is going to take the Kapha time of the day. So she'll initially speak from 6 to 10. And then Dr. Naheed will discuss the Pitta time, and then Dr. Brennan will discuss the Vata time in the afternoon. And then we'll go back to Dr. Rajvinder for the Kapha time for the evening time from 6 to 10, back to Dr. Naheed, and then back to Dr. Brennan again to discuss what's happening between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Because obviously what's happening in your body between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is very different than what's happening in your body between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., but they're both Vata times. So we're going to find out what the difference is between those times. So these are the rhythm of nature, or the daily cycles, and they're very, very important in Ayurveda, because having your body in tune with these cycles of nature is essential for good health. So I'll stop the share. So we'll turn over to Dr. Rajvinder for the Kapha time of the day, which is from 6 a.m. So let's say you're wakening at 6. Maybe many of you are not wakening at 6. Maybe you're not wakening until 10. But anyway, as we go on with this Ayurveda course, we'll get you all wakening up at 6. So let's say your day starts at 6 o'clock. So Dr. Rajvinder, this Kapha time of the day from 6 to 10, a very beautiful time of the day. So maybe you can bring us through the routine for that time of the day.
Okay, thank you all. So in Ayurveda, there is a big emphasis on your daily routine, because Ayurveda is a kind of system that deal with diet and lifestyle and herbs. So lifestyle is a big role to play to the balance of your elements in the body. So 6 to 10, as Noel said, is the Kapha time of the day. So Ayurveda say you need to get up around 6 a.m. So it is good to wake up with the birds, because the environment is light. Dr. Brennan is going to talk about the 6 a.m. to 6 a.m., which is the Vata. So waking at the 6 a.m., you're still waking with the Vata qualities, which will be dry, light. So you wake up quite energetic. Lots of people think it's okay to wake up tired and feeling groggy. No, actually, if you have a proper bedtime and you wake up early, you should feel light, you should feel fully rested, and your mind should feel quite energetic, and you're ready to jump out of the bed rather than snoozing your clock. So there is a very nice routine, a lot of rituals to do around that time to energize your body, because as all of you know, Kapha is a heavy element, so it's easy to feel a bit heavy around that time of the day. So how are you going to energize? So first thing, you get out of the bed and you go to the bathroom and you start doing your oral hygiene, where you brush your teeth and you do oil pulling, and you're going to tongue scraping, and you're going to put a few drops of oil into your nostrils Actually, Noel is going to show the tongue scraper, because most people ask me what are tongue scrapers and all. And the Nastia technique I'm talking about, he's going to demonstrate on that. So don't worry if you're not familiar with it. So once that is done, brushing your teeth, oil pulling, and oil pulling is swishing a tablespoon of sesame oil or oil around your mouth like a mouthwash, really. And just spit on a paper and rinse your mouth with warm water again. And then after doing this thing, if you are ready to evacuate your bowel, do that. Or you go to your kitchen and drink a glass of warm water with lemon and ginger, and that will help to clean the bowel if you haven't done that already. And now the next ritual is a lovely ritual to energize your body, to improve the lymphatic system and circulation, is the self-massage. We call it Abhyanga. So Abhyanga is doing massage with the warm sesame oil, Vata massage oil, coconut oil, whatever oil your Ayurvedic physician has recommended you use that oil. You need to warm it up. So most people ask that question, how should I warm the oil? So it's very easy. You take a little dispenser bottle and you put the bottle, roughly I say 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil is enough to massage on the body. And so you let the bottle sit in a cup of hot water when you're doing your oral hygiene rituals. And now you pour this oil on your palms, rub it together, and it's long strokes over your muscles and circles over your joint. And you don't have to put the oil into your hair if you're not washing your hair. Just do a dry massage, just run your finger into your hair to bring more blood to the brain. And you can do a little gentle, small amount of oil, your face massage, because there are lots of marma point, energetic point to do a face massage. And then on your shoulders, on your armpits for the lymphatic system, clockwise movement around your belly button, on your stomach area to stimulate the bowel, and from your legs towards your heart, and then you finish on your back wherever you can reach. Don't worry too much, and you don't have to spend too long on that. Once you have done, you're already warm up. At this stage, some people like to go for shower if they are practicing certain meditations, for example, TM, because TM is about sattvic mind and purity. So you got rid of a lot of toxins by doing massage and leave the oil for 20 minutes maximum if you can, and you shower and you come back, and now you do your yoga asanas, because yoga prepare your mind to come to the center. And after doing the asanas, you're doing breathing exercises. Breathing exercises prepare and activate and stimulate and make your mind quite alert to get into the meditation. And now you perform your meditation, whichever you are doing, TM or any other mode of meditation you're doing. So you do your massage, you do your shower, or if you're not doing your shower, you do your yoga asana, you do your pranayama, breathing exercise, and do your meditation. And now you can go for a shower and ready for your breakfast. And then if you have time, you go for a little walk afterwards. So that's the morning routine. And that kapha, especially the kapha people, they complain it's very difficult to get out of the bed, and it's hard to do all this routine. It's just a matter of getting into it. You might force yourself to get out of the bed. And once you do it for a week, or they say take 21 days to train your mind, train your body. So you do it religiously, you get used to it, and it becomes effortless. And the whole procedure you can easily do in 15, 20 minutes. If you have more time, spend more time. There's no limit on that. So you can spend 2 hours as well. So I hand over to you, Noel. You can show the procedure if you want. So that's the kapha routine from 6 to 10.
Okay, Dr. Rajvinder, and it's a really, really important time of the day. And I think anybody that does wake up at 6 o'clock feeling refreshed realizes that it's a very beautiful time of the day as well. There's a completely different energy. It's a brand new beginning. And like if you go out for a walk or something like that, the atmosphere is different, you know. Now, the thing about kapha is that it's heavy. And as Dr. Rajvinder says, at 6 o'clock, you're just coming out of a vata time and going into the kapha time. So that heaviness is not there. But the longer you lie on in bed, the more that heaviness comes in. And that's why people who, lie on in bed till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, they get up and they can have a headache, or they can feel very drowsy, or a lack of energy, because that kapha has built up too much. In a particular dosha, we do the opposite. So it's not good to be sitting around doing nothing or lying asleep in the kapha time. It's better to be up and doing things. But as Dr. Rajvinder says, some people may find it very difficult to get up at 6 o'clock, and that's because they're not going to bed early enough and they're not getting a good 8 hours sleep. So Ayurveda is about gradually bringing it back into balance. So if you're going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, bring it back to 12:30, bring it back to 12. And then when you get your body just needs those 8 hours sleep. If you're asleep at 10 o'clock, it's very, very easy to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, there's always loads of questions. Do I brush my teeth first? Do I scrape my tongue? Which way do I do? So we don't get hung up about it. Like what I do in the morning is I get up and I use a tongue scraper. And this is a tongue scraper. And in the Ayurveda Center, they're not expensive. You'll get them in a lot of Asian shops. The stainless steel tongue scraper is €6, and this is a silver-plated one. So for the wealthy people out there who want silver-plated tongue scrapers for their tongues, this is €15. Very better for pitta, really, in some ways. But you can use a spoon. It doesn't make any difference. You can just use a spoon. But there's a coating on your tongue in the morning. It's called ama. It's detoxification that's gone on during the night. So we need to get rid of that. Now, as you go on with Ayurvedic principles, you'll find that coating becomes less and less and less, because if your digestion is strong, if you're eating properly, you're not going to be producing too many toxins. But we just scrape that off the tongue, and then just run it under a tap and clean it and dry it and put it back on the shelf, you know. So what I tend to do is scrape the tongue first, then I brush my teeth, and then I do the oil pulling, which is with sesame oil. Just put the warm sesame oil in your mouth and just swish it around for a few minutes. You can keep it in there for a while if you want. Sometimes I keep it in there while I'm doing the Abhyanga, which is the oil massage that Dr. Rajvinder talked about. Now, if you're a very Vata person, you don't want to be going into a very cold bathroom first thing in the morning and giving yourself an oil massage. So if you're Vata, put the heater on and put some sort of a fan heater on in your bathroom that's built in, and have the room nice and warm and have the oil nice and warm, and then just leave the oil on leave it on for at least 5 to 10 minutes, you know. I would tend to do my asanas while the oil is on. If you do asanas in the morning time, it's just a good way of doing something with the oil on you. And then I have a shower after that. So I leave the oil on for 10 minutes or so. Then I have a shower after that. Then I do my meditation. And I always like to go for a walk in the morning time as well. So that's a good thing to do. Now, that's your tongue scraper. So you can buy them in Asian stores. You'll buy them online. You can buy them on our website, or you can simply use a spoon. But obviously clean it well before you put it back into the press, or your family members won't be too happy with you. So Nasya is the other thing. So this is, you can use sesame oil for Nasya, or you can use MP16, which is oil that has a lot of herbs in it as well. If you're just using ordinary sesame oil, it's very simple. It's just a matter of putting some oil into your nose. So just put a few drops on your finger and just put it in your nose. With this one here, it has a dispenser, okay? So I'm going to do it now. It's because I do this I definitely do it every morning. It's great for getting rid of any heaviness, okay? But you just squirt it up one nostril, then you block that and you squirt it up the other nostril, and then you hold the nose so the oil is in there, then you just breathe back. Just breathe back. Oh, and you can feel that going right to your head. It's actually quite sharp, you know. Now there might be a little bit of oil comes down, so you just wipe it with a tissue. That's it. Just wipe it with a tissue, and straight away you can feel the difference. And Nasya is very good for everything above the neck in Ayurveda. It's recommended. So for migraines, for sinuses, I had a guy ring me from England a while back. He had a weeping eye, and he started using MP16 on, I think it was Dr. Brennan's recommendation. And he said after a week or two, it just went away. He couldn't believe how well it cleared up. So Nasya is a really good thing to do. It's highly recommended by the Indian government, Department of Ayush, traditional medicine, as a prevention against COVID. And not just COVID, any infection, because most viral infections go in through your nose. And the oils that are in this are very antiviral. So they keep this area very, very clean. And it also helps with your breathing as well. And the nose is the gateway to the brain. So Nasya is a really, really good thing to do. So that's the kapha time of the day. They're the main points that we go in the kapha time of the day. So most of these things happen in the first hour or so, really. But as Dr. Rajvinder says, it is very important that we try get out of the bed early. But so as not to make that a big, punishment to yourself, you need to get into the bed early. So early to bed, early to rise is an old saying. It's Ayurvedic wisdom at its best. So early to bed, early to rise. So by 10 o'clock then, we move from kapha time to the pitta time of the day. And pitta, as you now know, is the fire element. Water and fire together. So it's heat and transformation and all of those things. So Dr. Naheed, what goes on in the pitta time of the day between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock? What should people be doing at those times?
So 10 to 2 p.m. Of the day time is the pitta time of the day, and usually at this time of the day we are like, more productive, we are like more determined, we are ambitious, we are like ready to do all the hard work, and of course we are hungry as well, because all these are the characteristics of pitta. So as pitta is responsible for our digestion, for our transformation, and also the heat production, which is required to digest our food. And we all know that Ayurveda strongly considers that good digestive power is the key for a good health. So, our main meal should be in this pitta time of the day. So, it's believed that from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., the pitta remains in its peak. So, if we take our main meal of the day at this time, what happens is that it will help us to digest our food properly, and also to transform that food which we are having, to transform into an optimum quantity of ojas. But what happens is that, like, I see in few of my patients that when they are strongly pitta, what they do is they keep procrastinating their meal time, because they are very determined, and like they are like a perfectionist kind of person. So they feel like, oh no, I had to do my work first, then I'll do my lunch. But do not delay this, because at the end of the day you need good amount of ojas to keep yourself going. So have your food in between 2 to 12 to 2 p.m. And 2 p.m. when we say, then don't start your meal at 2 p.m. Have it before the 2 p.m. Clocks in. And as you know that pitta helps in the production of heat, so it's not recommended to have cold water or any cold drink with your main meal of the day. You can have warm water, but do not have any water like at least half an hour before and 1 hour after your meal. And there is a recommendation of lassi. Lassi is a diluted yogurt. You can make it with some of the spices and all. That helps in the digestion as well. And then when you finish your food, do not just get up and go and do your dishes. Just sit in your table for 2 to 3 minutes. Let your body absorb, let your senses absorb that you had your meal. Let it start at work. And then you can go for a walk. So it's recommended to go for a walk for around like 100 steps. So that helps to digest your food properly. So, and for Vata people, it's also recommended that after they have a meal and they go on a walk, they can have, a little bit of rest, which Dr. Brennan going to elaborate in detail, because after that the Vata time starts. So Noel, I am going to hand over to you.
Okay, Dr. Naheed, that's perfect. So that pitta time of the day, very dynamic time of the day. You can get a lot of work done during that time, but very important that we have our main meal at some stage there. So generally around in Ireland, I think maybe between 12:30, 1 o'clock is when most people will be eating. And it's interesting you say about drinking warm water, because you go into any restaurant in Ireland or any pub in Ireland for a lunchtime, and the first thing they'll do without even asking is bring you a pint glass of ice water, not just cold water, but ice water. But this is not a good thing. If you think about digestion, it involves heat, it involves transformation. So you have this fire inside you. You should be good and hungry at this stage. If you've had a light breakfast, if you're not hungry at midday, then you're eating too much in the morning time. So cut back what you're eating and just make sure that hunger is there for your midday meal. But that hunger is a fire. And if you put cold water on top of that fire, you just put that fire out. So we don't have cold water. Very important. We skip the temptation of having that cold water. And as Dr. Naheed said, we can sip a little bit of hot water, or we can have that drink called lassi. We probably have to make that ourselves. It's a mixture of yogurt and water. We show you how to do that. But for most cases, it's a case of having some hot water. It's not a big deal to ask for hot water in restaurants anymore. I remember asking for it 15 years ago, and people would look at you and they'd say, do you want that in a cup or a glass or whatever, and they'd be wondering, did you want a tea bag with it or whatever? But that doesn't happen anymore, because a lot of people are taking hot water with their meals. And we just sip the hot water. We just sip the hot water when we eat our meal. And very important point there, Dr. Naheed, about sitting easy after our meal. don't get into, especially if you're a Pitta type, don't get into any big, deep, heavy conversations about anything, about politics or anything like that. Try not eat your meal with the TV on or listening to the news. Don't be having arguments with people. You know, you can have good company or no company would be the way I would say it. It's fine to eat on your own and put your attention on the food, or else good company with friends and family where the conversation is kept light, but not too much intensity while we're eating, especially for Pitta people, because they get caught up very much in that. And then, as Dr. Naheed said, a little walk afterwards. So they're the main things that we do for midday. And now we're moving into the Vata time of the day. And we know Vata is air and space. And Dr. Brennan is going to talk about this. So this goes from 2 p.m. Until 6 p.m. So Dr. Brennan, can you go ahead and tell us what we should be doing during the Vata time of the day?
Well, as we all know, Vata is most fundamental and most profound, and it moves everything in mind and body, including moving Pitta and moving Kapha. And so it's essential we keep Vata balanced, and keeping it balanced keeps us at our best. And so everything you've heard so far is simply put to maintain this fundamental integrity of Vata. As you remember from what Dr. Naheed was telling us, we wake up when Vata is quite lively at the end of Vata time of the night. And you'll notice that all the strategies at the beginning of the day were to initially settle the Vata. So we settled it through the oil mouth rinse, through the oil massage, through the yoga, through the pranayama, through the meditation. And now we're transitioning because this is Kapha time of the day and we start to do the exercise. And the breakfast also is going to be another way of settling the Vata. So we go into the Vata, the day, with Vata settled. And that's important because many people hop out of bed, grab their clothes, grab a bite, and they're out the door and they're busy all morning, grabbing a bite at lunch, and they come into my time of the day, the time I have to talk about, between 2 and 6, very imbalanced. And that's unfortunate because then kicks in a low functioning, a cloudiness and a fatigue hitting them mid-afternoon. Whereas starting the day so well and then coming into the Pitta time, they actually have a big meal in the middle of the day, as Dr. Naheed was telling us, because in so doing, two things happen. The food is earth element and a good meal grounds us. So it really settles Vata after all the activity of the morning. And that relaxed style of eating that they were describing, it leaves our sympathetic nervous system switched off for the process or duration of the meal. And the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that relaxes and eases us, soothes us, settles us. So after that good start to the day and that good midday meal, we should come into Vata time with Vata balanced. And if Vata is balanced in Vata time, actually, this is the best time of the year for mental work, the best time of the day for mental activity, for mental work, for calculating. But if it's not balanced, it's not a good time for anything really. And so that's important. We come into it balanced. Now, normally the exercise for most people would be better taken away from this time of the day, not to be too physically active. If you're a Kapha person, you could exercise at this time, but a Vata person would be better exercising in Kapha time of the day or Pitta time of the day. So not to get overactive in Vata time. Now, if one is in a Vata time of life, because there is the Kapha time of life of youth, there's the middle years, 20 to 50 or 60, Pitta time, and then there's the Vata time of life, you will notice that the elders increasingly start to consider going back for a little short nap in the afternoon. And the reason for that is because their Vata is even stronger than ours. Well, I'm in the Vata time of life, so it's coming up. So it's important at this time for them, that little extra way of keeping the Vata balanced. But what we would recommend for everyone is a meditation. And Vata being the most sublime, the air and space elements, and because Vata moves the mind, if we settle into a settled state of mind, particularly with the TM, at the end of the Vata time, it totally tends to bring our mind and body back to balance. And that's why, traditionally, the timing of meditation would be about that end of Vata time, 5 o'clock or thereabouts, or coming to 6 o'clock. And so those are the strategies whereby we keep our balance in Vata throughout the day. And I could hand you back now to Noel and Dr. Rajvinder for the next phase.
And Don, one thing that I notice with a lot of people is that they do have a big energy slump in the afternoon, and a lot of people, people working at desks find it hard to keep awake and all this, it can be just directly after their meal or a little bit later. Is that a Vata thing, that big energy slump that people experience?
Thanks, Noel. That's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it out, because you see, there's phases of digestion, and the first hour after a meal is a kapha phase of digestion. Then we go into pitta phase for 2 hours maybe. And then we start to get light and hungry again, this vata time of digestion. So in relation to the meal, someone's just had a big lunch and they come in 2 to 3 with kapha increasing. And that does, slow them and settle them down. And then from 2, 3 into 5, the pitta from the digestive system is kicking in. Now, all of this is just perfect for balancing the vata time of the day, this influence of that meal. However, if they have not had enough sleep the night before, that's one possibility that would cause them to feel tired mid-afternoon. So that's why, the essential of a good 7 to 8 hours sleep for everybody. And so that's one reason. The other reason is if people's digestion is a bit weak, then that influence means their digestion is sluggish, slow. They don't get the energy from the food. They get tired and a feeling of heaviness because they have not been taking care of their digestion, or they have overeaten. The overeating increases the kapha in the kapha phase, at which point they start to get tired. Now, the other point there is that, people who have missed sleep at night, Ayurveda would say they can have a little catch-up nap in the afternoon. Otherwise, afternoon naps are not really recommended in Ayurveda, but in that situation, or in the situation of the elder, or a third situation where people's vatas are very out of balance, one of us Ayurvedic doctors would prescribe it. So in general, one other point, interesting to note, in hot countries, the excess heat starts to dry the body. So in hot countries, that drying influence of excess heat causes their vata to get increased. And then in their tradition, they have a siesta. And that's why they need a siesta. We don't need a siesta in Ireland, unfortunately, because we don't get the heat. But those are the circumstances where an afternoon nap would.
Okay. So I'm taking it that a young person really shouldn't, unless there's an imbalance there, they shouldn't be feeling that heavy sluggishness in the afternoon. Whereas with an elderly person, it's fine, maybe someone in their late 60s, early 70s, it's okay to have a little nap in the afternoon. But with other people, if that's happening to you and you can't function and you can't do your job or whatever, then there's an imbalance there. You need to catch up on your sleep, or you need to get your digestion into order. So before I go back to Dr. Rajvinder, let me just share the graphic again so that we can see what we've covered. So we've done 6 to 10 kapha time, all our cleaning, and it's interesting that Dr. Brennan said that the things we do in the morning are in that kapha time are actually to balance the vata that has come up while we were asleep. So the hot oil and the unctuousness of the oil and everything, and then the pitta time, the middle of the day when we have our main meal, and then the vata time in the afternoon. So we're going back to kapha time, a second kapha time of the day, which is from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. But obviously we're not going to be doing oil massages and tongue scraping at that time of the day. So Dr. Rajvinder, for some reason you got muted. So are you unmuted? Yeah, you're unmuted. Yeah. So, Dr. Rajvinder, this time of the day, this second kapha phase of the day, what is this time of the day? What's best for people to be doing at this time of the day?
Okay, no. So kapha needs stimulation. So in the morning time, we did the massage, we did the walks and light breakfast to get the body going, to get the stimulation. So now in the evening time, again, the sun is setting. So in the morning time, sun was rising, so it was still heavy kind of energy around us. And now again, the sun is setting. So as the sun is setting, our body's physiology is also kind of slowing down. So the cortisol, the serotonin levels are kind of going down, digestion is going down. So digestive system is actually weak in the kapha time, so which means we should have light breakfast and light dinner anyway. And so we need to activate ourselves again for the kapha time because it's still not night. So it's advised again for kapha to do a little small kind of, if you have time, to bit of exercise, pranayama, and your evening meditation if you're doing TM, or kind of a short kind of meditation again, because you just came out of the Vata, as Dr. Brennan explained, and you're leaving your offices, you're finishing your work, if you're working online and all that. So it's very nice to relax your mind a bit and reflect on your day and do a shorter meditation before you start eating your dinner. And then you go for a small dinner. If you had a good lunch, which Dr. Brennan was emphasizing for, and Dr. Nahid was saying for Pitta, as the sun is high in the sky, digestive power is very strong. So now you don't need a big meal. So if you skip your lunch, you're craving now for sugar or heavy, fatty kind of meals. And also you're soon approaching to the bedtime, so Ayurveda doesn't recommend for a very heavy meal. So you better eat a bowl of soup or something like quinoa with vegetables, steamed vegetables, something light, according to the Ayurveda principles, if you're following that. And then you can go for a little walk as well. In the summer, the evenings are longer, so it's nice to go for a nice walk. In the winter time, you can do a short stroll under the moon. That will help your pitta, and that'll also stimulate your kapha a bit. And then you prepare yourself for the bed, and make sure for kapha people, because they're cold and damp, as our environment in the Ireland is very cold and damp, so make sure your room is nice and cozy and you have enough blankets and you're sleeping nice and warm in the bed. And you start preparing yourself around 9:30 that you're going to sleep. So evening ritual, keep it simple, keep it easy, because kapha time mind is not very active. So don't engage into any kind of sharp or too much of mental activities. You can do like a simple thing to do a list for next day, or conversation with your family members. Try to have quality times or do some nice relaxing activity. Before you go to bed, if you struggle from sleep or any of that, you can do a little feet massage, you can do some kind of a guided meditation, you can do some breathing exercises, things like that, and prepare yourself for bed. 9:30 you're in bed, lights are kind of, make sure there's a dark and kind of dim light in the room, and you read a kind of an easy book that's not stimulating your mind, and sleep by 10. So that's kind of a routine.
Okay, so a lot in that actually. So a light meal in the evening time is a big recommendation of Ayurveda, because you're going into bed. You don't want to be going to bed, with a big stomach full of food, and then it doesn't get digested properly and you start creating ama in the system. So ideally we have our main meal in the middle of the day in the pitta time, and then a lighter meal in the evening time. And then that kapha time is good to do a little bit of exercise, get out for a walk. Even in the winter time, go and walk, and once it's not raining, go and walking can be really, really nice. If it's cold, just wrap up very well and go out for a brisk walk around 8 o'clock, maybe for half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour or whatever. Or if you go to the gym, it's okay. We can do that as well. It's a good time to do some exercise. Not too much if you're a Vata person, but a good time to do a little bit of exercise. But then by 9:30, we're making plans for going to bed. We're winding down at that stage, because then we're moving into what we call the second pitta phase of the day, which is a really, really important phase. So Dr. Nahid, you can bring us in through, we start the second pitta time of the day from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. So I have a fair idea what we should be doing at that time, but what is our body going to be doing for us at that time?
Yeah.
So 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. at night also a pitta time, but it doesn't mean that we have to take our another meal or something, because pitta is not only responsible for digestion, but that also helps in transformation. So when I say transformation, so what does it do? It helps us to digest all the undigested food materials which our system for any reason not able to digest that, so that we don't produce a lot of toxins, a lot of ama in the body. And it also helps us to clear all the emotional amas, all the toxins which are there in our mind, because pitta is one of the important factor for our intellect, for our memory as well. And if you prepare yourself from 9:30, as Dr. Rajvinder says, that if you prepare yourself by 9:30 and you go and bed and you're ready to sleep, you do some kind of meditation and anything which can make you feel calm, composed, and make you feel asleep, sleep faster. Then on the first 4 hours, you sleep like you have a deep sleep. And it says that in the deep sleep, our body is more tend to transform and to regenerate and to remove all the toxins. So go on a bed, try to sleep before 10 o'clock, and have a good night's sleep as well. And like few of the patient, and we see a lot of questions that few people just get up at night with sweating, especially during the summertime. And on the postmenopausal phase, there are women who are having hot flushes kind of thing. It's because that's the pitta time of the day, and hot flushes and all this burning sensation and sweating is because of pitta. So you need to prepare yourself in that way. You can have something which is cooling along with your dinner, which should be lighter and a little bit of cooling thing. And you can have a comfortable, a little bit of ventilation kind of thing, so that you can sleep better and so that your body can regenerate and heal itself. I'll hand over to you, Noel, so that.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Naheed. Actually, it's an interesting thing about pitta, because the second phase of pitta is definitely, it's better to be asleep during it, because this deep transformation goes on. I know there's a 2-hour window in the day when the body can get the maximum benefit from being asleep, the maximum. And I'm not saying there isn't benefit from being asleep at other times, but I was always told that 2-hour window was from 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock. This is to do with the rhythms that we've built up over decades or over millennia. But obviously, if you're not asleep by, if you're not in bed and asleep by 11 o'clock, you're missing that particular train. But it's very interesting with pitta, because I noticed that a lot of people with pitta, people will naturally begin to feel a little tired around 10 o'clock. They'll naturally have that inclination. Oh, maybe it's time to go to bed. But then what happens is they get distracted and something comes on the TV and they look at that and they say, oh, that might be interesting. I'll just have a little look at that. And then half an hour later, they're completely wide awake again. It's like this second wind. But the pitta in that case is being used for the wrong purpose. It's been used then to keep them awake and keep them active. Whereas if they went to bed and went to sleep, it would be used for those deep cleaning purposes. So it's definitely a big recommendation of Ayurveda that we try get to bed for 10 o'clock at night, so that deep healing can go on within the system and that cleaning out of toxins that are in there. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, we move into the Vata stage from 2 to 6 o'clock in the morning. So we'll go back to Dr. Brennan. So Dr. Brennan, what's happening during this phase of the morning from 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning?
Another wonderful opportunity to rejuvenate ourselves. Noel, it's a very lively time. The nervous system can be in some ways even busier at this time of the morning than when we're awake through the day. It's the time when most of our dreaming happens. And when we dream, there's an automatic switch off of our muscle system, so that we cannot move, fortunately, or jumping over the cliff might end up jumping out the window. So naturally with dreams, there's a sort of a semi-paralysis, but the dreams are actually an incredible function that achieves so much for us. We've seen from Dr. Naheed how the healing is happening during the pitta time, the body being transformed. And in that process, there are a lot of connections in the brain that have become redundant and they're broken down. And so the material that is then available is used by the brain to restructure a whole new network of connections and a fantastic extension of the web of connectedness of the nerve cells at this time. So the dreaming is a time where we take all the information that has been registered during the day. It's into our hippocampus, and during the pitta phase, it's being transformed into long-term memory. But then the dreaming comes along, and not just that we remember this information, the dreaming helps us to totally reintegrate this whole new experience of the previous day with our whole life's experience. And out of this comes wisdom. Out of this comes solution to problems. So it's a very significant time of the day, which people should never curtail. They should get their 4 hours of Vata sleep. So this is activity. This is Vata, movement. But this is the movement that's happening at this phase. And if we have lived a good routine of the day, then our Vata will be settled and we will sleep during this time, and the activity of this time will be spent in dreaming and fulfilling the functions of dreaming. Another function of which is to take the sting out of our negative experiences of the day. It's because of our dreams that when we have a bad experience that, you know, we feel really emotionally traumatized by it. The next day, we're still emotional thinking about it. The next day, it's less. The next day, maybe the emotion is gone. We had the memory, but not the emotion. It's our dreaming that's helped us resolve that emotional thing. So all of this work going on between 2 and 6 is the healthy functioning of Vata. However, again, we come back to times of life because, again, being in the Vata time of life, people's sleep can be broken at this time. Normally, people have a circle of sleep and they're back up near the surface after 90 minutes and then they circle deep and then back up 90 minutes. But when they're in an older age category, they can just wake up at this point, and it's not a problem because it can be natural to have that slightly broken sleep later in life. So long as people can remain relaxed and stay with it, then they get back into the next cycle and there's no sleep problem. However, if people's Vatas are very out of balance, that's when they wake at 2 or 3 and 4 and can't get back to sleep. Then that's a Vata issue that has to be balanced, especially by that routine, which starts the day settling Vata, middle of the day lunch settles Vata, meditation and relaxed evening meal settles Vata. Not too much stress, not too much chaos during the day, and keep things balanced Vata-wise. Then we can tend to have a really good quality sleep. The other function of sleep, of course, is to make us more sociable again, because we were getting a bit narky after the days, and we were getting tired. And then 8 hours it takes for our emotional body to recalibrate, so that the next day we're totally a sociable, loving, kind being again. So the significance of actually having those 4 hours of Pitta time to heal, 4 hours of Vata time to reintegrate and to re-establish our connectedness at the finest level, from all the physical through all the mental processing to the finest essence of our being, so we wake up the next day rejuvenated from the deepest level and ready to start into the next day at our best.
Okay, Dr. Brennan. So that's actually fantastic information there about the quality of sleep. So really, you know, our ability to deal with all sorts of things, emotional things and trauma, and how we handle that is very, very dependent on people getting a really good night's sleep. So maybe if you find in life that you're an angry person, or that you're holding on to things very deeply, you can't let go of arguments, or it keeps going around in your head, and you know you're traumatized by small little events that upset you for a long time, could be very much to do with the fact that you're not getting a good night's sleep and you're not dreaming properly. And for people who are interested in the topic, I know, Dr. Brennan, we have you did a webinar one time on sleep, and it's available on our YouTube channel, so people can go and look at that. So very powerful things happen when we're asleep. We might feel our consciousness is shut down, our awareness is shut down, but definitely the intellect of the body is not shut down. The intellect of your system is as busy when you're asleep as it is during the day when you're doing things. It's just doing different things. It's cleaning out the system. As Dr. Brennan says, it's putting short-term memories into long-term memories. It's getting rid of the things we don't need anymore. And it's bringing us back to a state of balance. It's a kind of a recreation that happens, a recreation of the system that leaves us set and ready to go with the next day. So that's fantastic, everybody. So thanks very much for bringing us through those the daily routine there. Dr. Brennan already mentioned that there were cycles of life that are Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So the early part of your life tends to be a Kapha phase of your life when there's growth going on. And then the middle part of your life tends to be a Pitta part of your life where you have the dynamism to do all the things and you're raising your family and doing your career and all that. And then the Vata time of life tends to be the latter part of your life from 60 onward. But the real time to balance that Vata, and we know from our course that Vata is the king of the doshas, it's the one that goes out of balance the most. And if you take a look at the diseases that affect a lot of elderly people, they're all Vata conditions, things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, to do with movement and arthritis and all these things. So the real time to be getting that Vata in balance is not waiting until you're 60, but keeping it in balance as you go through life. Obviously, the seasons are also Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And we have, I think at one stage, Dr. Brennan, you told me that Maharishi had some research done in Ireland to see when the actual Vata, Pitta and Kapha seasons were. Maybe you can just tell us about that for a minute.
Absolutely, yes. Maharishi had a panel of Ayurvedic doctors that analysed all the statistics from everywhere in the world, and we in Ireland had to actually send in all the data about temperature, moisture content, wind factors, all of this, so that the Vaidya's could interpret the ancient wisdoms about the season and specify for what parts of the world were the Vata season, the Pitta season, the Kapha season. And that's how we come to having this Kapha season from December through till May, Pitta season from May through till maybe beginning of September, and then the Vata season September through to December again.
Okay. So they're the seasons, and it's very easy to see. We know the summertime is Pitta time. I mean, we want to do things that balance Pitta in the summertime. We want to go swimming and all these things. You don't really want to go swimming in the middle of January. I know people do, but most people are more attracted to it in the summertime. There's more heat in the atmosphere. If we're going to eat salads and things like that, we want to do it in a Pitta season rather than in a Vata season. So they're the three seasons. So all these rhythms of nature are there, and nature is doing different things at different times, and then we just need to learn to live in balance with that. Now, for many people, this might seem, people who maybe have developed habits over the years that, the idea of lying on in bed till 10 o'clock is just bliss, and then, going out and not going to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning is absolutely fantastic. And people have developed these habits over a long time, and you can't change those habits immediately, and you shouldn't try to change those habits immediately, but you should try to change them over time and then see how you feel, because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And see how your health is, and see how your humors are, and see how you feel as you begin to bring these rhythms, these cycles more and more into nature. And that's what Ayurveda is all about. It's all about living in tune with nature and staying balanced. And as we know, disease is dis-ease. The system is no longer at ease with itself. So many, many problems would be solved by people living this particular routine. And I'm sure our ancestors did, to a large extent, live this way, because, we have the advantage of electricity, and, with every great invention comes, a price to be paid as well. So we have this huge freedom, but we can misuse it as well. And electricity allows us to, have light on in our rooms and stay up watching TV till 2 o'clock in the morning if we want. But unfortunately, there's a price to be paid for that as well, Okay, so that's what we've covered today, the cycles of nature, the rhythm of nature. A big thank you to the doctors there for going through all of that. We're going to start our Q&A now with our doctors. Again, I'd like to say that we will favor questions that are related to the topic that we've been speaking about today. So if you have specific questions about the things that we've talked about, and, the rhythms of nature that are there and the different daily routines, if there's any questions that have sprung to your mind that you want to ask us, then go ahead and put them into the chat box. But as usual, we'll endeavor to answer any questions that come our way. Okay, doctor, so you can start taking a look at the chats that are coming in, and we'll continue with that. There we are. Actually, I hope that video didn't continue to play. If you start hearing noise in a minute, it means it has continued to play. So God knows what YouTube will choose to bring up next. But anyway, there doesn't seem to be anything there. Okay, great. Are we all muted? Are we all unmuted? Oh, Dr. Rajinder is. Are you with us, Dr. Raj?
Yes, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a really informative lecture there. I mean, it's just, there's great knowledge contained in that. So we did the morning routine, the reason for eating your main meal in the middle of the day, the value of being in bed at a certain time at night time. All of those things were contained in there. So anyway, I'm sure there's lots of, as it's summed up there by Rashila, I think she said excellent knowledge from the doctors. So that's exactly what it is. So the video was beautifully arranged in a lovely composition from Anna Carey. But thank you, Anna. That's lovely. That's lovely. It's like an orchestra there. But yeah, okay. No, it was. That video flowed together very, very well, you know. Okay, so go ahead, doctors. I'm sure there's stuff there. There's questions in.
Lots of stuff coming in about sleep there towards the end. Frances struggles to get back to sleep and recognize that she's Vata, and she put down the question, and I think I immediately answered it in the tape after, so I think she has the answer. Sleep apnea from Nita, that's can be a kapha problem, Nita, and it may be that you need to balance kapha because kapha blocks. Also, the nasal oil, use that regularly up your nose when you rise every morning, and 3 or 4 times a day, especially after meals, a good time. And there was a question about it being too sensitive, about someone being too sensitive. Either thin the nasal oil with sesame oil, as Rajvinder I think also answered, but also if you can't tolerate it, just using sesame oil. And the other thing for sleep apnea actually is try just getting a little bit of surgical tape and tie your lips together with the surgical tape when you go to bed, because it does force you to breathe through your nose. Whereas if your mouth falls open, it can be that open mouth and causes, you know, the back of your mouth to sort of collapse and block the air coming in. So see if that, because certainly it's much better to breathe through the nose through the night, because the air through the nose goes to the bottom of the lungs, which have much more blood and therefore a better oxygen absorption. And it is much more settling. It may settle your parasympathetic when you breathe through your nose. So those
So
are
maybe
some
taking Trika too, because it's a kapha condition.
Oh, yes. Nice, Rajvinder. Yeah. But if it's a very significant sleep apnea, you see your doctor, because
CPAP machine will be better.
yeah, if need be. And how do you stop waking at 12:30 a.m. for the loo? That's a very good question. And I'm wondering, would Dr. Naheed or Dr. Rajvinder, this lady, she doesn't drink after the evening meal, but she finds herself waking up at 12:30, wanting to go to the loo for tea.
Yeah, it's sometime if you eat soup or something liquid, and that could happen. Or if you're taking any of the herb or any medication, that could happen. Or you have to take some of the herbs like bladder strengthening herbs. Either I suggest Apana Balance or Genitrac. So some of the bladder strengthening, that could be weak bladder that is causing you to go. Sometimes it is psychologically, it is a habit. So look into that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, maybe pelvic floor exercise.
Yeah, move your fluid even towards, drink more water in the morning, and after 4 or 5, just try not to drink much fluid. Just a little sip if you have to.
The Apana Balance is a good thought.
Yeah.
Maybe you could put those numbers, MA3347 for Apana Balance and MA2 into the chat box there, Rajvinder, for that lady, because they won't remember that. Someone asked, how long does it take Triphala to act? It depends on how much you take. It'll act very quickly if you take a lot of it, you know. But it's a very good Rasayan of Triphala. And you can just take 1 at nighttime going to bed, or 2 at nighttime going to bed. And it just depends on what you're using it for, basically, you know.
You may find an increasing effect as you continue with the same dose. You know, you might start 1 or 2, and over 2 or 3 or 4 days, notice the effect more as well. So
yeah. I want you to answer that question, Dr. Brian. It's keep coming every session about red rice yeast and Triphala with the blood pressure tablet. It has repeated a lot. I think we are not answering that question.
Oh, I didn't see that one, Raj. Okay.
It is in the beginning, and there's one more question. The person is vomiting, so take that as well.
Can you give me the red rice yeast one again?
And the question is it okay to take a red rice yeast and Triphala together while on the blood pressure tablet? I think that was the question also.
And together, yes, that would be okay.
Yeah, I think that's yes. Yeah.
And
then
vomiting is very interesting, because it's a cyclical vomiting that's happening every, 4-6 weeks. I think it's a lady, And my first question, therefore, would be, is this tied in some way to her cycle? Because stress, uh, your hormones actually use the nutrients from your food to develop to a certain point, and then it's either that they branch off towards ladies' hormones or they branch off towards stress hormones. So if there's a lot of stress, you're not actually developing your ladies' hormones in a balanced fashion, and that in turn might contribute to that problem. You definitely would then, in that situation, need to rest on the first day of your period. Or first 2 or 3 days, take life as easy as possible and to eat lightly, just to start the cycle well. And the real problem is, as you point out, the stress at work. And either you do things that increase ability to cope with stress, and those things are balanced vata, which are learning TM is brilliant. Doing the oil massage daily gives you a little bit more sanity today. Relaxing, especially not nobody is entitled to come between you and a good lunch. That's too important. So one way is balanced vata to increase your own resilience, and the second way is to start them out at home.
I would say because she's not eating, so maybe cook the rice, like make a rice milk, really kind of that texture, and add roasted cumin seed powder. And if you have black salt or Himalayan salt, just try to take small amount because she was saying she can't eat and that's causing more nausea. So rice will help. Cook it to really.
It seems to me, when I read that question, it seems to me there's a lot of feedback coming in here for some reason. Dr. Brennan, you're not coming across, your sound isn't coming across great, but it seems to me that there's a lot of stress there in that person's life. You know, an awful lot of stress. And, you know, this might sound strange, but, and maybe it's too strong of advice, but people really have to look at the way that they're living their lives in a very serious way if it's been very, very detrimental to their health, you know. I mean, I remember when I learned transcendental meditation, within 6 months or so, I'd given up the job that I'd been doing because I just didn't want to do it anymore, you know. And I know I didn't have that many responsibilities at the time, so it wasn't so difficult for me to do that. But it was a good job and everything like that. But I just realized that wasn't the right work for me to be doing, you know. And I was 28 years of age at that time. And I just, I packed up my bags and I headed off to Nepal for a year, you know. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to do that, but if your life is just so full of stress that what you're doing is just causing you to, you know, have ill health and to die early, and you know, you need to examine it because it's your life. You know, it's your life. So, you know, you may need to look at things very seriously there to and make decisions about what you're doing. But what Dr. Brennan said is also very good as well. Develop methods to cope with the stress. So if you can't get away from it because, you know, people have responsibilities, there's children, they have families, they have financial commitments, they haven't got the right sort of mentality that will allow them to take a big step like that. So develop things that help you cope with the stress. And meditation would be definitely way up there on the list of things to do, you know.
And also coming back to Rajvinder's point, you know, when you're vomiting so much, you can get dehydrated, and that would be very significant. And what you then need to do is what Rajvinder is suggesting. The one thing that will give you nourishment and rehydrate you is just a sort of a rice water where you have a very dilute, as she's saying, and the spices would help you to settle your digestion. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Maybe that person needs a consultation as well, you know. And
a good thought.
Yeah, talk with a doctor just to see how serious that is, because it sounds quite serious, to be perfectly honest, you know. So it's probably not something that can be dealt with just here, you know. There's a nice question from Anna. I'm not sure if it's Anna Kara. Could you explain why vivid nightmares leave one feeling heavy and mentally blunt in the morning? It's a huge stress release, Anna. So it's going to take a big toll on your physiology and nightmares like that. So you need plenty of rest, and you may need meditation as well to help deal with whatever causing that, you know. Maybe you have some thoughts on that, Dr. Brown.
Yeah, try doing some gentle yoga for 10 minutes before bed, just to relieve the stress before you go to bed. And then that will also, yoga is to settle busy minds, so it leaves you more settled. So that might well work. Brian O'Donoghue had a very interesting one, Noel. He can awake paralyzed, you know, actually. And people find that incredibly frightening, because they're awake and they can't move. But that's a recognized condition. And as Brian very astutely spotted that we have this facility to paralyze ourselves while we dream. And what happens to those people is they wake up in the middle of a dream, even if they don't notice it, and the paralysis is persisting. But it's just be totally at ease with it, because if you just lie there and give a little time, then it resolves. And therefore, it's nothing to fear. That's the
Yeah.
important point.
It's a safety mechanism, that paralysis, because if you didn't have that paralysis when you dreamt, you'd be kicking out and
Oh,
falling
yeah.
out of bed and everything like that, you know. So it's a safety mechanism.
And there are poor people who haven't got that effective, and so the poor partner in the bed inevitably gets beaten up a couple of times in the night.
Yeah. Wouldn't be so nice. Wouldn't be
So
so
like, Jean-Pierre's cycle is a little late. That's absolutely true for a lot of people. Their cycle, their circadian rhythm, going to sleep and waking up, is out of sync with nature. And what you have to do is you have to realize that you have a problem, that you need to readjust your cycle and get back in sync with neighbor. And you do that gradually by going to bed that half an hour early for a couple of nights, half an hour earlier again for a couple of nights, half an hour, until your natural cycle is synced with nature. Because if you go to bed and you get up, it's the getting up 8 hours later as well, that because if you go to bed earlier and still get up late, you're still not adjusting your cycle. So
Yeah, so there's a question about very bad teeth and gums. So Gandosh, an oil pulling. The Sanskrit term is gandush actually. You can try oil pulling with sesame oil. Sesame oil helps, to cleanse your mouth properly, and if you're having some bad odors or some, so that also helps to release bad odor as well. You can just take a 10 ml of sesame oil, either warm or in normal temperature. Just keep it in the mouth for around 6 to 7 minutes and just spit it out, followed by a hot or warm water rinse so that the excess oil comes out and it doesn't remain sticky.
Actually, it's a well-timed question because we have some gum oil coming in. There's a new Marishi Ayurveda product that's just been released, and I've ordered it. So we'll put it on. Actually, I was asking one of the doctors to do a webinar on dental health. I think we should do a webinar on dental health, because Ayurveda's got an awful lot. Naheed is nodding her head there. So that could be one for Dr. Naheed, because there's an awful lot you can do,
Lovely, great. Noel, you already have a good product as well for this. And that's the Iodent tooth powder.
Powder, yeah.
The outer Iodent, and you just wet your toothbrush and put that red powder on the toothbrush and massage gently the whole way around the gums, the edge of the teeth, and inside and out, top and bottom, and then rinse your mouth. But I usually suggest to do it at night, and then use the Iodent toothpaste or wash your teeth in the morning with something else, because it's red, and unless you want to look like a vampire through the day.
Yeah. So we have that already. That are you that we have the mouthwash. We don't have the tooth powder, but we do have the mouthwash, and we will have the gum oil as soon as that delivery comes in from Europe, which nowadays could mean any time within the next 6 months. But anyway, hopefully it'll be in the next few days.
And there are 2 or 3 questions regarding day sleeping. So in summer, and if you are staying in a very hot place, so you are already getting dry, and day sleep induces lubrication and unctuousness in your body. So you can sleep for around half an hour to 1 hour in the daytime, and it is recommended in Ayurvedic text to sleep in summer, like only in summer season you can sleep in the daytime, and especially for elders, like who are after 60 or 70, and for kids and those who are suffering with any chronic disorder and they're like very weak and sort of something, then they can also sleep in the daytime. There is no harm in sleeping then.
Suni pointed out that her feet are very hot at night. And this is a really interesting mechanism, because we evolved sleeping in the dark and the cold. It got colder at night. So those are triggers for sleep. Your room should be no more than 18 degrees, because that helps to get off to sleep. But Suni is pointing out that her feet are very hot. And that's a mechanism that we have in our bodies, that when we go to bed, the circulation to the hands and the feet can increase dramatically, and that causes heat to be radiated off our body. So our temperature should plummet a little at 10 o'clock naturally at night. But this is another mechanism by which when we go to bed, a little overheated, the body cools down. So Sunny, don't be distressed about that. What I would do is stick the feet out from under the blankets and let the heat radiate off and cool down to help your sleep. But the other thing, of course, you can do is a ghee foot massage, because it's pitta, it's heat. So a ghee foot massage before bed could well ease that. And then a cold, wet wipe with a face cloth. So before you go to bed.
And there's a question about dryness of the eyes. So what you can do is you can take melted ghee and you can just massage in a circular motion around your eyes. That can help you to reduce dryness in your eyes. And related to that, there is another questions about watering eyes. So watering eye, if you're constantly your eyes are like lacrimating, then there can be a problem with your lacrimal ducts. Maybe they are blocked. But you can do something, maybe just to check if you're working too many hours in front of the screen or computer, then also your eyes can be watering. So if you're doing so, give your eyes a little bit of rest. There is a 20-20-20 says exercise, like, for every 20 minutes, you need to take your eyes away from your screen for 20 seconds, and, to keep, to see a distance as far as possible. And also you can try, when you get up early in the morning, try to wash your eyes with cold water, not too cold, because we stay, like, Ireland is a cold country, but like a normal tap water to cleanse your eyes. And you can also use, like, just around the eyes to massage with ghee. So massaging also helps to release blockage if there is any. So maybe you can try this, and if not, that, yes, Dr. Brennan, you want to say something?
I do, Noel and Naheed, both of you. What I'm thinking now is that can we expand your talk from, what you were talking about, oral hint, to eyes, ears, nose, mouth, throat? A talk on the whole thing would be a very, very
ENT,
interesting.
all branches.
Oh, yeah, but they would all tie in. And I think.
Well, there's three doctors, so one doctor could take the nose, the other one could take the mouth, and the other one could take the
No,
ears.
no. Because it's not to go for 40, 50 minutes talking about one thing. But if you had a number of issues that people would be drawn in by and interested to hear, it'd be a lovely talk.
Okay,
Yes.
put together something on that. We got a lot of questions around that, so we can put together some webinar on
And somebody
ear, nose, and throat, yeah.
Somebody pointed out as well that they get very creative in their that from their dreams they get solutions. And that's absolutely very true. That's one of the purpose of dreams, is that it gives us the aha in the morning, the solution to the crossword or the problem. And in fact, the whole of the science of chemistry took a massive leap when a guy called Dmitry Mendeleev, he was troubled, and he was had this huge problem about how did the atoms line up? What is the sort of relationship of one atom to? And he spent 10, 15 years at it. He was almost suicidal because he couldn't figure it out. And then he dreamed in his dream, he saw the periodic table. And that was the huge advance of chemistry, to have that understanding of how all the elements line up. And then there was Yesterday by Paul McCartney. He used to go to bed with a pen and paper by his bed. And there was the Rolling Stones, Satisfaction, because Keith Richards, he used to actually have a tape recorder by his bed. And he woke up one morning and he said, well, there was nothing very much interesting through last night anyway. And he switched on the tape recorder and he heard, I can't get no satisfaction. So you say, I dreamed the bloody thing.
Yeah, and there's lots of people, from Einstein to great people, who said, listen, the answer just came to them, it wasn't through logic, through working it out, it just came to them, Michael Power says, any recommendation products for cholesterol or choosing to take statins? Michael, firstly, I would read The Great Cholesterol Con, and then you might decide that you don't need to do anything at all about your cholesterol. And if you really want to reduce your cholesterol, which, unless it's very high, I wouldn't be advising you to do, you can take red rice yeast, which is where statins came from in the first place, but it's a natural product, about 1/20th of the side effects. But I would read The Great Cholesterol Con by Dr. McKittrick, Scottish doctor, before I'd start doing anything about your cholesterol.
It's a CAFA problem, so I think balance CAFA, and certainly the CAFA foods would be the better ones to use. Your exercise is also helpful. Use good oils, omega-3, omega-6, as you would find in seeds, sesame, sunflower, pumpkin, and flax seeds, because if you have good quality oils in your diet, definitely no margarine. Someone put in a question about margarine. Put it in the bin, because it's full of trans fats. When they process these vegetable oils to make them of a nice consistency or whatever, the fats get rigid because they've been heated too high, rigid. And the whole purpose of the fats is that they be very malleable, because we're made of it. And the cell membranes have to be very flexible to open and close little gates and let things in and out. Trans fats are bad. So stick with good quality oils. And for olive oil on food is an excellent one. Ghee or coconut oil in cooking tolerate heat. So just to be aware of.
Yeah, put your margarine in your microwave and then put the whole lot into the bin.
That's a great idea. How to learn TM? That one, what you do is you go online, tm-ireland or tm-uk.org, and you'll see where to learn then and all about it.
If you're in Ireland, the TM Centre in Rathmines is teaching at the moment. Because they have a big premises and they can do all the social distancing, they're allowed to teach. So 014960762. That's 014960762. I'll put it in the chat box. And they're teaching now, so you can organize to do that. Also, they can teach using an app now, so you only actually need to visit them for 1 day. It used to be 4 days, but you can actually just visit them for 1 day now and do the rest remotely. 4960762. Jack or Mary, they're old colleagues of ours going back. I actually learned TM there in 1989 in that centre. So it's a great centre. Mary Daly and Jack Lyons are the two teachers there. So Dr. Brennan's wife is a TM teacher, as is Dr. Brennan and as is myself. But I'm not sure any of us are. Well, I'm definitely not teaching at the moment. I don't think Don is, and I don't think Anne is either. But this centre is open. They're not teaching from their house. It's an actual centre. So I think pretty much a lot of the sites in the UK are open for teaching, you know. Is there a website for TM Rathmines? I think there probably is, Barbara. I don't know what it is. Google it and just see.
I think if you Google TM-Ireland, all the centres come up.
TM-Ireland.org, TM-Ireland.org, and a map of Ireland comes up. I mean, there's centres all over Ireland, teachers all over Ireland, but I don't think there's many of them teaching at the moment, you know.
What's good for memory? Brahmi. It's in the herbal product Youthful Mind. Youthful Mind you could get from Knoll. Damaged knee cartilage, Alison. It depends on the extent of the damage. If it's really badly damaged, then that minor little surgery can trim it and make it much more comfortable. If it's not that damaged, then you could try using the MA1673 to help joints and ligaments and cartilages and muscles. You could use the joint suit oil. And walking is actually a very good exercise for the knee if you can weight bear on it. But if it's very painful, listen to your body.
Dr. Ratinder, give us an answer there. We haven't heard from you in ages. You're sitting there very quietly.
I see. Just give other doctors a chance. It's okay.
Thank you.
Hey, can anybody guess what this is? I'll give a prize to one of the doctors that gives a name on that.
Cancer ball.
Hey, Dr. Ratinder, very good. Okay, and what's it used for?
Feet massage.
Yes, I got it a while back. It's absolutely fantastic. You get all the instructions with it as well, and it's a little. I suppose it's a copper ball for massaging your.
Cancer, not copper. Brass.
Oh, it's brass. It's a mixture of copper and I don't know what brass is, but it's a mixture of copper and something else, you know.
What are you doing with it, Noel?
Massage on the feet. It go black and it remove all the toxins.
It's great for massaging the soles of your feet and your toes and everything like that. It's after you take me hill walking and I'm wrecked, you know. So I use
I can see it going black, yeah.
Well, it looks pretty clean there. And I use this then for cleaning. It's really nice. It's really nice. So I presume for people who can't sleep, giving a foot massage before they go to bed would really help
Oh,
with that.
absolutely. There are many in Ayurveda. There were marma points, which became the acupuncture points in the Chinese system. But there's a lot of them on the feet, so that's why the foot massage with ghee before bedtime, and especially that up and down finale rub to the soles of the feet at the end. A lovely thing to do for a child. The child is not sleeping. Sit by the bottom of the bed and just massage their feet and sing them a lullaby. And poor, that brings in poor Lorraine, is it? Loretta, with young children and how to do everything. Ah, Loretta, just take life easy. Your path to evolution at the moment is through your children. Children come first. Just take care of your children with love. And if you're getting knackered, listen to your body and get to bed early or get a bit of extra sleep. The whole of Ayurveda is just listening to your body. So just see your greatest need, whether it's rest or whether it's, even to get away from them and let your partner take charge for an afternoon. Just listen to your body.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
What's the question on the ear? I lost that question. The lady is asking again. Have you seen that question? About the hearing from one side of the ear. I lost that question. It was
I didn't see that.
Okay, from Joshna. Maybe Joshna, you can put it again.
Amber asks, in a hot country, should you walk after a meal or have a siesta? The Ayurvedic advice is to walk 100 paces. So you can do that, washing the dishes and whatever, and then to rest on your left side. Because that's very restful for sleep.
Siesta is very good.
Siesta, especially in a hot country.
Yeah, in India, they all do
It's a very great tradition. Yeah.
What about the person with low blood pressure, heart failure, with low cholesterol? Can Ayurveda help? I think the herb Arjuna, you consider taking Arjuna as a tonic and CoQ10.
Yeah, and MA325, MA3325.
3325 paste,
for low blood pressure.
Yeah. Okay. If you remove oil after you've massaged your feet, well, you definitely want to wipe it down with a towel or something like that, and whether you need to actually wash it or not. Yeah, probably best to wash it really, but if you want to leave it on, but give it a good wipe with some paper cloths or a towel, Okay, folks, we're getting very, very close to the end here. So
the question is here. I take that question from her. She's asking again. If one can't hear from left ear and right is amber, checked at optician who said the other ear is amber. They say red, amber, green. So I guess the amber is medium. That's what she means. The hearing is up medium level. So we used to have the ear drops. I don't know if we can get that again.
MA638.
Yeah, but I don't know if
we
can get them. And then Youthful Mind will help, because that will help to rejuvenate the senses. MA3.
And the nasal oil.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. The nasal oil, the MP16 is the one I demonstrated so brilliantly in the video earlier on when I was putting that up my nose. So that'll be good because it's good for everything above the neck.
Ears are related to Vata, and that could be Vata imbalance. That person might have a very busy mind. So reflect on that. So regular pranayama, breathing exercise, and meditation, so that it slow down the damage.
An oil massage, especially on your inside, your pinna, and with the little finger, you can just apply on this part.
I want to answer Anna Carey because she keeps coming back with the same question. Is spring Rajasic? So Kapha is to do with growth. And that's why, the spring is just such a wonderful Kapha time. But I can't condemn any season as being Rajasic or Tamasic. The seasons are perfect if mankind hasn't actually interfered to disturb things. So the season there could be Rajas in people. So the people could be Rajasic. But and I think, how does the spring affect you is the question. Does it make you more Rajasic? If so, you want to, have more sattva or purity in your life. But I think with Anna Carey, she's very sattvic. So
I would have thought spring would have brought out the sattva in you really in some ways. Like it's such a happy time, you know. It's such a
yeah, love
such a
is in the
blissful
air.
time. Yeah, well, I'm not even sure about love, but even the sun is in the sky and stuff
And
like
now
that, the
no.
long nights and everything.
And now no.
Love was in the air. That could be an extra bonus.
Where's
as
the
well,
romantic
Dr. Brennan. Yeah, that's an extra bonus as well. But anyway, the birds are back. Yeah, the birds never. Well, some
So
of the
much love from people, 339 people. So love is in the air.
Yeah, there's lots of love coming through in those texts. They're wonderful. How each one of them is trying to help the others with their tips. Lovely.
The
And some
swiftest
lovely-
swallows come back this. Yeah, well, that's true. This April. Yeah. And there's a dermoid
cyst. Yeah. So this question is coming again and again, Rashmi. I think it will be better like whenever the next time you're visiting India, just visit any Ayurvedic hospital. They have a treatment called Agni Karma, so you can opt for your dermoid cyst, maybe and that can help you like to remove that cyst from. And there are other therapies as well, like like the car, and a certain oils are there made up of pepper that can be used to reduce the size, but unfortunately we don't have all those things available, so
Yes.
maybe the
So
next when you visit India.
if
the
there's
one
any
herbal I
frustrated,
wonder,
Sorry?
just with Kanchannar Gugalu.
Yes.
That's MA 3697.
yeah. Okay.
That'll
And
be the herbal.
Purnarama as well.
Pardon?
Sometimes those cysts are from birth, it's sometimes they're born with it, so it may not be easy to treat it.
Okay, so what we really need in Ireland is an Ayurvedic hospital. So if there's any millionaires out there listening to us this evening that not too sure what to do with their money and they'd like to do something really, really good with it, we'll be willing to talk to you about setting up an Ayurvedic hospital and bringing in Vaidjas and doing all that, because that's really the next step that we need to go to, Anita says, sorry, no money. Well, just good wishes, Anita will do us, and that'll bring along some.
Okay. Money will come.
He does have the money, Okay, fantastic, everybody. 9 o'clock, getting towards that time when we start needing to wind down, Okay, so that's great, everybody. Thanks a million for coming along. Really, really interesting talk. I'll send out the email tomorrow. I'll send the link to the detox talk that we did last night, the link to this talk so that you can review it. Dr. Rajvinder's yoga class is tomorrow night. Is it 7 or 7:30, Rajvinder? 7, is it?
7. Yeah.
7. It's on the website anyway when you go to book it. And
Thursday is the digestion and metabolism and production of tissues, and that's a really interesting talk. Everybody should.
Yeah, but there's a lot more going on than that on Thursday, Don.
What else?
No.
A lot more going on than that on Thursday.
Oh, yes. We will announce.
Very good. An awful lot more going on.
Not now.
Yeah.
On Thursday.
Okay. All right, everybody. On that suspense, we'll leave it with that suspense there. Namaste, everybody. Have a great night. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Naheed. Thanks for coming on, Naheed. We'll talk to you. Bye. Bye. Take care, everybody. Bye.